And away we go on Thursday, August 17th. Welcome back to the Damon Bruce Show. Good to have you here on the Plus. Thank you so much for joining me once again, whether you're doing it live, whether you're just listening to the podcast, or whether you're watching this on replay later on when it's most convenient for you. Matters not to me. The whole point is that you clicked on it. We're spending this time together, and I thank you very, very much for being here once again. I got a little something. Oh, the world loves a power ranking, doesn't it? Oh, give me power rankings. How about this power ranking sip of the day? Hopefully that makes Rob C. get paid off from whatever bet he laid down yesterday. Again, so sorry I missed that generous super chat yesterday, Rob C. But sometimes I'm not looking at the chat while I'm doing the show, and I beg your forgiveness. But it is really good to have you here. And like I said, we got some power rankings to go through. Now, everyone likes a power ranking. Everyone likes to be told who's in trouble, who's in less trouble, who's in more trouble. It's really hard to decipher what trouble is out here in the Bay Area, except for one clear entity that I think sits above and beyond all in that number one, you're in sports trouble spot. It's the University of California. If we had to draft who is in the most sports trouble in the Bay Area, you'd be hard-pressed to have a better number one draft pick than the University of California. There isn't a sports entity in the Bay Area that is more at a crossroads than the athletic department in Berkeley. I think they're clearly the number one choice. The future is without direction, which means you're as lost as humanly possible when it comes to athletic competition. You know, you can be bad for a season or two, but as long as you have direction to go in, you have somewhere to go. What direction is Cal really pointed in? You know, Stanford, in a weird way, even though their situation is in many ways identical to Cal, it feels more insulated because the athletic success and identity for Stanford, whether they check the box of they really don't care or not, I don't know, but they play that game so very, very well, and we know that they have a level of money, a true level of money that it insulates them from caring. It's hard to gauge where Stanford is. Meanwhile, there's been a whiff of desperation coming off of Cal. Even when the Pac-12 felt stable, or a lot more stable than it is today. So it just feels like bad times over in Berkeley, and I would have zero confidence placing a bet on what way the Golden Bears are going to go. Next up on the hot seat power ranking, even though it doesn't feel like there is necessarily any consequence to attach when it comes to pressure and power ranking, I would say the 49ers come in number two, because you can't have higher expectations than you better win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, or you are going back to the lab with an entire different experiment. The experiment that the 49ers are running right now is loaded roster benefited by the least expensive quarterbacking room you can find on any team that fancied itself about to do something special in the NFL. So, man, the 49ers are absolutely in a 2-year window of the financial deal that they made with the devil to have pauper pay for quarterbacks, meaning everyone else can get paid, which kind of brings me to where the hell is Nick Bosa, but we'll have more on that later. All the standard bearers involved with the 49ers have to be feeling the pressure. That goes from executives to ownership to coaches' rooms to players. Everyone knows the time is now, or the time gets reset, and you go over to the cosmic football egg timer, and you have to turn it over once again to see which way the sands start flowing through the hourglass. It is pressure on everyone involved. Is there an actual hot seat for Kyle Shanahan, though? I don't know. I don't know. And honestly, actually, I think I do know. The answer is no. Like, the 49ers cannot win the Super Bowl this year or next year, and Kyle is not looking at an insecure job. We'll get more to that in a minute. Maybe John Lynch. Maybe, since they're kind of attached together. It feels like John Lynch would be on his way out before Kyle would be. You could see that Gabe Kepler is starting to feel the pressure a little bit, just sitting in the press moment that he had that a lot of people are trying to say was a little awkward. Look, Gabe Kepler asked the reporter to justify a question, and without raising his voice, without throwing anything, even that by generation, you ain't tough at all, is portrayed as confrontational. It really, really wasn't. It was just an open back and forth instead of you ask the question, I give the answer. It was a little awkward for sure. And I think it's a signal that the pressure is on Gabe. I mean, he gets tossed the day before and he comes on back and is in it with reporters. And I think it's because, speaking of sand through the hourglass, the San Francisco Giants can feel it slipping away a little bit, right? Gabe Kepler is definitely in line to be a Giants fall guy more than Farhan, because Farhan seems to be at this particular time, and I guess this is the disappointing part for Giants fans, he seems to be executing the Giants' financial direction that the ownership wants him to execute, which means as far as they're concerned, they're happy with the job he's doing. As far as you're concerned as a fan, you might not be. But if ownership doesn't have a problem with what you're producing or how you're producing, then you really don't have a problem. That's on Farhan. But eventually you have to have a sacrificial lamb if it gets bad. And I think Kepler would be up first. You know, Farhan's inaction, even if it was in the name of eventually serving this glorious home-cooked meal full of homegrown prospects, there was a level of inaction that is haunting the San Francisco Giants right now. You know, I think that Farhan's got some marching orders to make sure the finances stay where they kind of are right now. And it really isn't attached. His job isn't attached to the team's success. How much of his success can you cobble out of the financial model that we're allowing you to operate under? And I think Farhan's doing the job that they want him to do. The Giants are, let's face it, the Giants are very comfortable right now living in an above average world more than they are pursuing greatness. So who is really in trouble there in terms of hot seat power ranking? The answer could be maybe Kepler, because he would be the guy to go. Farhan doesn't feel like the Giants are upset with a single trade he didn't make or a free agent he hasn't landed or a contract that he's given away. By the way, is Ross Stripling going to run to exercise that $12.5 million player option at the speed of light as soon as he can? I mean, you're going to have a bad pitcher coming out of your bullpen for $12.5 million if that's what Ross Stripling is really turned into, and it looks like that's who he is right now. I'm not even talking about the A's, because the A's have, so entered the realm of nothing they do matters. There's no hot seat for anyone. If another stadium idea totally fell apart, maybe Dave Kaval would finally get his walking papers, but the entire team wants its walking papers out of here, so they don't even matter anymore. And that's sad, but that's the way it goes. There's clearly nothing going on with the Oakland A's that particularly matters, which is why the entire situation is so cataclysmically depressing. So let's talk about Kyle Shanahan. Because as frustrated as fans present themselves with Kyle Shanahan, and maybe there's times where some of that frustration, you feel like it's well spent and it really matters. I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going anywhere. Without a level of melting down that he's attached to Brock Purdy practice performance, Kyle would have to so thoroughly forget how to do anything successful on a football field to get fired that I don't think he's got it in him. I think he's got a tremendous amount of job security. And he should. Because he's really, really, really good at what he does. He is. Kyle Shanahan is already third on the franchise's all-time postseason wins list. Now, it doesn't come with a Super Bowl, so people want to say, well, when it comes to the postseason, Kyle doesn't get it done. He's won the third most games all time in franchise coaching history in the postseason. That has to matter on some level. Only Walsh and Seifert have won more games than Kyle Shanahan in the postseason. He'll move into fourth place on the all-time regular season wins list with just 6 more victories, and if the wheels totally fell off, they're going to win 6 games this year. So, beyond all that, real quick, without looking it up, how old do you think Kyle Shanahan is? Don't look. Just say it out loud wherever you are right now. Just speak it into existence. How old do you think Kyle is? 47, 48, my age, maybe a little old, 49. Nope. He's only 43 years old, and he'll be 44 in December. You're not getting rid of a coach who has been this successful, this young in his career. He is 43 years old. That's it. He'll be 44 in December, and I don't think Jed York really has any reason or the inclination or the guts or will experience any level of frustration that makes him make the snap judgment that this guy's got to go. I don't think it's going to happen. And it's one of those, what happens if you actually did fire Kyle Shanahan? He would be so hired immediately somewhere else that it feels like it would be a bad idea just on that alone, right? There's also this. He's been to 3 of the last 4 NFC title games. I know for some of you who think you were born a 49er fan, therefore guaranteed at least 2 Super Bowl wins every decade. And look, for a while that felt like the truth. But things do change, and things have changed. And Kyle is as successful as you can possibly be without having won it all. Seriously, that's what he is. You know, Kyle Shanahan is the thinner, more attractive, younger version of Andy Reid in a lot of ways. You know, the guy who's a good coach, and we all see that, but he's never going to win it all. Right up until he did. So that's kind of where Kyle lives, which gives him a tremendous amount of job security. His defeats, I think, can all be attributed to obvious things more than schematic or coaching breakdowns or anything like that. So even though there are a lot of slings and arrows and quivers shot into Kyle, he doesn't, A, deserve them nearly as much as he gets them, and B, a lot of people firing the arrows don't even know what they're aiming at. And it's just easy. Like any director directing a football game is you have a wide shot of the football field, then you have a close-up of the head coach, and then a close-up of a quarterback. So one of those 2 guys must be responsible for absolutely everything that's happening, almost singularly to themselves. That's not the way the sport works. And then we go to the man who's got an awful lot of job security. Almost job security to infinity in terms of coaches around here, and that's Steve Kerr. Now, the Warriors feel like that they're close to the end of their run, and it's either going to land in a competitive fashion or the wheels totally start falling off. Outside of the wheels completely falling off, I just don't think that Kerr is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. His son was just promoted as Santa Cruz Warriors head coach, so obviously the Kerr name echoes far and wide inside the Warriors organization. He's also, if you want to really start nitpicking all the reasons why it's maybe time to move on from Kerr, he's won more championships than any coach here on any level, right? Outside of like high school. This man has stacked championships. He's got pelts on his wall, and those count. He's coach of Team USA. That counts. And I also think he's the one guy that Joe Lacob, Kirk Lacob, La Familia Lacob just isn't going to mess with. So I think Mike Dunleavy Jr. will be out of a job before Steve Kerr is out of a job, unless Steve Kerr makes the choice that it's time for me to walk away, which smart coaches start thinking of doing when they get to year 12, 13, 14, because all voices start to lose their power in a locker room, and that's just a natural team cycle. So it'll be interesting to see it end, but I don't see any ending for Steve Kerr that means like, oh, he got fired and it was embarrassing. Like it doesn't feel like that's the way it will be laid down. Mike Silver wrote a pretty interesting article in the San Francisco Chronicle that was basically another good sip. Why does Trey Lance trigger people? I think there are different factors going on in here. There really are. There are different reasons why Trey Lance has such a visceral reaction in the fan base. Number one, let's start with this, because I think this outranks all of the things. We live in a world where people now believe their opinions are a matter of fact. I want to say that again, so it just echoes. We live in a world where people think their opinions are a matter of fact. I feel so strongly about something, it must be true. You've been coddled in your life. You were taught to believe that your completely untrained, unspecial eye matters as much as people who are, professionals. Everyone wants to skip doing the actual work and go right into punditry. I'm now a pundit. I want to be an expert on this topic. Well, what do you know about it? Well, not much, because I just got here. We live in that world. We also live in a world where anger sells like hotcakes. So stoking the fire of anger when it comes to Trey Lance trying to attach coaches' ignorance or negligence or an element of racial bias to it, that's an easy thing to do. It's an easy thing to do, so people do it easily. And again, we gobble up what we do not like. We gobble up what we don't like. And so anger and venom sells, and it sells well. Maybe if I presented with more anger and venom, I would have already crossed 10,000 subscribers. I'd rather be at 7,000 with a little integrity than 10,000 pretending to be angry at something all the time. How many interceptions did he throw in practice? Doesn't matter. It feels like whenever anyone wants to count the interceptions thrown in practice, at no point in time will they say, well, every single day, this guy gets to practice against one of the best, if not the best defense in football. One of the best defenses in football is probably intercepting an awful lot of practice passes, no matter who threw them, right? And that kind of where we need to position half the story, but it's a lot easier to sell anger of the interception than it is merit of the defense that is making these plays over and over again. We live in a world where people who watch football actually believe that because they watch football, they have a credential, they are inside the room, that they really feel like they know as much about what's going on as the people who are really inside the room. I'm going to tell you, not a single media member know how, not Peter King. Who is your favorite, most informed media member? Whoever the answer is, whoever your answer is, unless they are a former football player who played at a level of several years of success in the NFL, you do not speak that language. You could not sit down and talk football with Kyle Shanahan. How about this? Kyle Shanahan could teach every single one of us a world of a world of football knowledge. There's not a single thing any of us could teach Kyle Shanahan about football. Not nothing. Not nothing. Nothing. We have nothing to offer the conversation if we were having it with Kyle. And that's not kissing rear end. It's the truth. There is a language that we do not speak being spoken inside of football franchise headquarters. Everything we do is for entertainment. It's the truth. Now, we try to, at least I try to, couch my entertainment in some level of reality, some level of, well, let's have a reasoned, nuanced discussion of what's going on here. But, we also live in a world where people are just trying to make fetch happen. And people want to speak Trey Lance into existence. It's not going to happen. This isn't an Oprah Winfrey dream catcher. You're not going to speak this shit into existence. He, once drafted, regardless of draft capital, you're on your own. You will show to us you are a player that is worthy of playing time or you do not. And there is no one involved in the evaluation process that matters than the head coach and general manager, and those two guys are the same guy when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle, let me ask you, what would be worse? If Kyle, what is worse, I guess, would be my question. Kyle not playing someone he had high hopes for, but didn't really turn into who he hoped he would have, or sticking with the wrong player for too long? What's worse? Kyle is using the information he knows about his offense and his team to evaluate what he needs at quarterback, and just leave it to Steve Young to explain it in a way that should be easily digested by everybody listening. But the minute that you offer this, it takes away so much of the argument away and the anger away that people don't want to buy what Steve Young is selling. And again, Steve Young is one of those guys who speaks a language of football that none of us could ever sit down and talk with him about. We could ask him questions, but we have no answers for Steve Young, how any of this works. So when he presents some answers and theories about how he thinks it's working, it matters. Steve, on with Tolbert and Copes on KNBR, said about Brock Purdy, and again, this is going to explain to you why he's playing ahead of Trey Lance better than anything you'll ever hear. Steve Young said, he's so quick to get the ball out. He understands the game in a unique way. The ball comes out in a great spot, and that's why Kyle loves him, because he's been begging for someone that he can call any play and get a trustworthy result. Ta-da! There it is. There it is. That's the answer so many people have been dying for. That's it. That's it. Kyle's looking for a trustworthy result. He wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to make it happen. And then unfortunately, Jimmy produced more untrustworthy results than trustworthy results. So Kyle makes a draft pick of a guy who has only, in Kyle's eyes, produced untrustworthy results in Trey Lance, and who unfortunately got set behind, the injury bug and the COVID bug and the didn't play much in college situation, which are all unfortunate, but it's just what happened. And then here comes this guy named Brock Purdy, who just started delivering what Kyle believed were trustworthy results, and those trustworthy results they won an awful lot of games with an inexperienced Mr. Irrelevant at the NFL level, but his collegiate experience provided him enough of a framework to make trustworthy decisions in Kyle's eyes, and Trey didn't show up with that. Trey showed up with an envious amount of physical and raw attributes. Brock Purdy brought a whole lot of I've done this before to the party. And that's what Kyle needed. That's what Kyle needed. To me, Kyle Shanahan's biggest miscalculation was taking a prospect that didn't come close to matching his team's timeline. There are plenty of NFL franchises who would today present a situation to Trey Lance that says, come on in, we're going to play you, and we're going to grow through and roll with your mistakes in the name of tomorrow will be brighter. The 49ers are not playing tomorrow seasons of football. They're playing this season of football. And that's why they need a guy who can just make those trustworthy choices. Again, I know that I'm not screaming, so maybe this isn't resonating, but it should. This should resonate with you if you consider yourself a smart person, wondering how all of this really is fitting together. Bomani Jones, who I think is among the smartest media members and he's an intellectual. He's a very smart guy. I saw through a series of tweets, was saying, Kyle Shanahan is hailed as so much of a genius that people talk themselves into Mac Jones at number 3 after trading 3 first-round picks to get there. They thought that was a good idea. Hey, it might have been. Mac Jones in a Kyle Shanahan situation might have produced results similar to or better than Brock Purdy's only through the college reps he got at the highest of levels. We don't know. Kyle has shown a level of success. For people who are like, well, Kyle, he builds himself as his quarterback whisperer. Look at the level of success he's had with not very good quarterbacks, where Bill Belichick, without Tom Brady, has had almost nothing going on with all the other quarterbacks he's ever really had. Drew Brees Drew Bledsoe for a minute there. So, just having a level of coaching acumen that means no matter who you give me, it's going to be a success. Like, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. And then Bomani goes on to say, now people are telling me that he did take the guy after trading all those picks isn't talented. Look, no one would make the argument, no one that knew what they were talking about would make the argument that Trey Lance isn't talented. He's very talented. But being very talented means nothing to the NFL. Means nothing. Nothing. There is no level of football. There is no level of football success you can have collegiately that means this is going to translate to the NFL. The NFL takes Heisman Trophy winners and spits them out like sunflower seeds all the time. All the time. The draft capital sunk into trading up. The Niners made a huge gamble thinking we're going to roll the dice on Trey Lance and maybe it'll work out. It hasn't. You got to stop complaining about the dice roll. They took a shot. The shot didn't hit its bullseye, but they continue to win an awful lot because a shot that no one else was even willing to take is a shot that they took with the final pick of the draft, and that seems to have produced a player that Kyle is very confident to be his starting quarterback. All you wanted was Kyle to get a starting quarterback he was comfortable with. First round, last round, any round, undrafted. Why do you care? Why do you care? Because you've watched enough Mel Kiper that you think you're a draftnik now? You know more about the NFL draft? The NFL draft is a crapshoot across the board. There's no amount of college success or physical attributes that mean you're going to make it in the NFL. And if you don't believe me, here's a quick list. Heisman winning quarterbacks. Guys who played all kinds of football at the highest of levels and got so many more reps against superior competition than even Brock Purdy enjoyed when he was at Iowa State. Much less Trey Lance coming from, this ain't really major college football and you hardly played much due to the circumstances of the times. The NFL has spit out Baker Mayfield to Tim Tebow to Johnny Manziel to Jameis Winston to Troy Smith to Chris Wenke. These are Heisman winners. Heisman winners with varying degrees of physical attributes, which were going to be the difference maker in their careers as opposed to the other guy. Yeah, the NFL just shits on all of that. All the time. If Trey Lance were better, he'd play. He's not. That's why he's not playing. There is no secondary agenda going on. There is no appeal to trying to quell fan anger by denying him opportunities to succeed. I'm going to tell you right now, if football God can come down from earth and guarantee Kyle Shanahan a Super Bowl, if he would shoot Brock Purdy in the head and just go with Trey Lance, as boom. Boom. Kyle would assassinate and bury the body of any player that he liked if there were a guarantee that this player will now win a Super Bowl. But that's not how it works. Trey Lance doesn't guarantee anything. Brock Purdy doesn't guarantee anything. The football team with the highest of expectations, the single best team. Look at it this way. Winning Super Bowls, it's really hard to do. You know who it's really hard for? The Kansas City Chiefs. As easy as they make that look, never interpret how easy it looks as how easy it is. That's nuts. You can't interpret, well, they make it look so easy, it must be easy. Even for the best team in the history of football, there's only one team in football that ever was like, yeah, about halfway through the season, we know we're going to win the whole thing and we're guaranteeing it. And it was the 1985 Chicago Bears. Because they had something that someone never, ever saw before in that 46 defense, and they knew, okay, well, it's going to be really hard to beat a team that you can't score against. And so that's what they were. And they recorded the Super Bowl shuffle halfway through the year. Ballsy when you look back at it. Heisman Trophy winners with the highest level of success are told nope by the NFL all the time. So people need to calm down. I mean, we haven't even begun the regular season, and look at how rattled and anxiety-ridden everyone is. Like, if you can't make it to preseason week 2 without having already pissed down your leg 5 times, how are you going to get through the regular season? You need to know when to really flex the I'm angry muscle and when not to. And if you are angry constantly at practice results, which once we get to week 1 in Pittsburgh, you'll never discuss them again. How about that? I can promise you, once we have played a single quarter of regular season football, every element of every detail that has been measured and examined and put under a microscope and re-examined, none of this will matter. By halftime of the Steelers game, you'll never speak of it again. Never. Ever, never, ever. So to make it the end-all, be-all focus of your misery, your outrage right now is just, you're telling me you don't know what you're doing every time you react like that. Again, the adult in the room. Sorry. Sometimes adults have to walk in the room and tell the kids, you just be a little quieter. You're all allowed to have fun, but you should be a little quieter. That's what Mike Silver's column was today, basically. All this Trey Lance triggering, hey, you can root for whatever results you want, but you need to be quieter as you're doing it because you don't know anything. You're just watching. And if you watching makes you feel like you're an equal to the people who are actually doing, you don't understand what you are watching. Now, here's what I do understand. It's 24 days until the 49ers kick off in Pittsburgh. Where's Nick Bosa? 24 days. 24 days. Get Nick Bosa signed. Get him in. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like that's legit. We need no more evaluation of Nick Bosa. Give him the biggest bag of money that he wants. Shut up and get out of his way. That's the only way to handle a talent like his. A little bit of baseball for you on a Thursday. The Giants pretty obvious they're really not in the same league as the young and talented Tampa Bay Rays are living in. The Tampa Bay is a good team, man. They just keep coming at you. That was pretty much made clear over the last 3 days. The Giants play the Braves in Atlanta beginning Friday. Spencer Strider is going to strike out at least 10 Giants, right? I mean, that's kind of what he does. And he's going to be opposed by Alex Cobb. The Braves just absolutely mash. And the Giants are sitting in a road trip that's got all the earmarks of this could get ugly, because the Giants as a team has spent August looking bad. You know, they've spent more time fading than shining here in the month of August. And the reason why they're doing that isn't just because they're running out of gas themselves. It's because they're facing superior than them, really playoff-bound competition. And the Giants look small when measured against big major league teams right now. I saw Andrew Baggarly say, you know, the Giants were 15-5 when using an opener. Now they've lost 5 of their last 6 with that actual gambit. So what was working for them is now not working for them because competition goes up, and your Mickey Mouse opener is great against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the middle of the season. But when you get to This Now Matters and the other teams got their big boys marching out and you are marching out ideas, you get into trouble really fast. Again, this is how the whole platoon thing is great to get you through a regular season. But once you hit that postseason, you need an actual bona fide major leaguer. And if you are a major leaguer that is constantly in the state of being platooned for, you're really not the everyday major leaguer that teams need if they have major expectations. Andrew Baggarly writes, the Giants are now stuck in a 2-month funk in which they've been the least productive offense in the major leagues. The Giants are built to win by being greater than the sum of their parts, but those parts still matter, and too many of them aren't working. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. The A's snapped a 9-game road losing streak with a shutout win in St. Louis yesterday. So I'm not sure where the parade's going, but there needs to be a parade for that. So congratulations. The Orioles are in Oakland starting on Friday. That's going to be painful. And in the last story of the day, it's certainly the most disturbing story of the day. Wander Franco. This story is coming more into focus, and the more it comes into focus, it does not look good. And obviously, the Rays were just in town. They were without Wander Franco, and this has gone from beyond a social media entity saying that he is dating an underage girl to now the Dominican Republic has opened an investigation into a number of accusations against him made by minors that are saying he took them to bed. On Monday, the Rays placed 22-year-old Wander Franco on the restricted list, a move that will sideline Franco for at least 6 games. Baseball is investigating the player following a social media post that questioned the nature of a relationship Franco was in with a younger woman. The story on ESPN goes on to say, in November of 2001, the Rays and Franco agreed upon an 11-year, $182 million contract extension just 70 games into his career. And honestly, Wander Franco, right up until this, is among the small handful of spectacular young baseball players in the game right now. And if this story goes and continues to travel along the track that we all fear is in front of us, he may never play Major League Baseball again. Hector Gomez, who covers baseball, wrote, a person very close to the investigations into the case of Wander Franco has told me, quote, it will be very unlikely that Wander Franco will play in baseball again. Judging by the results of the investigations that are currently being carried out, which directly commit him to the accusations against him. In other words, it looks like there is proof that this guy has been sleeping with underage girls, more than one. That will end his major league career. So there is a disturbing story to track, for sure. So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed some power rankings. I hope you enjoyed some reasoned football analysis. If you are watching and you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I certainly hope you hit that like button. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll be back Friday with even more. In the meantime, though, we're about to slip into Club Plus here on YouTube, and I just want to tell you that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, whew, he's gone. Hold on. By the way, if you're wondering why I keep on going with that, because it gives me in the audio file a clear, obvious timestamp of when I start going. It's like I'm creating a little edit point that I just edit out of the actual podcast, and I leave Club Plus in for all of us idiots here together on YouTube. Oh, Blacken. Oh, you know what? You know what I totally forgot to do today? Thank you so much to Ike's, my sponsor. I love you, Ike. Go get yourself a delicious Ike sandwich. Do it today. You'll be happy that you did. Wagyu pastrami. Yeah, I'm ordering one this afternoon. I will have a flavor review for you tomorrow. Might even get the vegetarian one and give it to Jillian and have her try it and see how she is after she tries it. And maybe I'll take a bite too. Thank you very much to Black. I guess I don't have to put up the bottle of blackened whiskey while I'm holding the sign. So let me get right to Uncle Boys and thank them for all of their patronage as well. Thank you to all of you who went and helped Uncle Boys come out of a tough week with some more business after they got broken into. And we love our sponsors indeed. Let's see what we got. This is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I like. Let me get rid of this and go back over here. And this is David. Hello, David. Saying, I'm eating an Ike sandwich right now, Damon. The Madison Bumgarner. Strong choice, Dave. Strong choice indeed. By the way, it's amazing what this light up here does to make the light on me change dramatically, right? Look at that. There's a science experiment going on right there. I'm not sure I understand it. Erwin says, Jillian's a vegetarian. No, but she'll work in vegetarian options. It's my wife. We couldn't have been married if she were a vegetarian. Come on. Skills says, sorry, man, this hits me a little harder because my daughter turns 14 in November. Yeah, all I'm telling you is that does hit harder. Anything related to anything that is related to children once you have children hits harder. So I don't begrudge you for your Wander Franco anger. I will just tell you that every man is presumed innocent until proven guilty, but there are a lot of bad signs coming out of that investigation. Hell Nasty 10 on 1. Hell Nasty 10 1-on-1 says, Steve Kerr's not on any type of hot seat. You're reaching, pal. You should actually watch the show and just not react to a thumbnail. There's a reason why Steve's in the background there. Of all my power rankings, he was dead last of being in trouble. So again, make sure you read the book before you give me your book report. Thank you very, very much. Stacy. Stacy always loves the disco face. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stacy. We have Jonas saying, I watched that Giants game on Wednesday. What the hell was that? I haven't seen many Giants games, but that was like a non-effort game. Yeah, that's the thing. You could just feel the dauber down in that clubhouse right now. That's why it's not always whether you're winning or losing. The season is long enough. It's how you're playing, and how the Giants are playing right now, even in some of the wins that they've posted, is disturbing feedback. It ain't good. Legends Pizza saying, glad I didn't buy any Wander rookies. I guess. But the story's bad. Irwin says, it's incredible for me to say this, but this is worse than Trevor Bauer. It sounds like it could be. I mean, what Trevor Bauer did, or is alleged to have done, was at least against people old enough to agree to they were at the age of consent. This is looking like age of consent was not a factor, which ain't good. I'm trying to get this a little brighter. I'm gonna hold it back here. Let's see. Otis Bird, Wander Franco could be R. Kelly. I mean, that's what we might be looking at. That's what we might be looking at. Kathy saying, I'm going to take the win wherever I can get it. Oh, and fun with John Fisher. Is that what FJF stands for? Farhan sucks. Here's the thing. He doesn't suck. I just think he's carrying out marching orders. And what matters right now is Giants ownership sucks. Or just is comfortable living in the world that they're living in, which is above average, because above average means they rake in a whole lot of money around the business of baseball without spending too much money on the roster. I don't like it. UCC says Bosa will sign when KC deal is done with Jones. Relax, Damon. You sound like the 95-7 the game guy. No, I don't. I'm telling you, Nick Bosa earns the right to set the market himself. His contract should be attached to no one's. You should not be waiting to see what another team does with one of their players before you take care of a guy who is never an inch further away from being the second best guy on your team, if not the best guy on your team. Nick Bosa means more to the 49ers than any player in Kansas City means to the Chiefs outside of Patrick Mahomes. So they are not connected to each other. They are not related. They are totally independent, and one should have absolutely nothing to do with the other. HR, again, HR, you're totally wrong here. Kyle is a genius the same way Elizabeth Holmes is a genius. No, Elizabeth Holmes was an absolute fraud, like going to prison level fraud. Kyle Shanahan is only guilty of not having won a Super Bowl yet, which very few coaches at the age of 44, 43, whatever he is, haven't done either. He's just had so much success on the way to not winning a Super Bowl that you want to say, well, Phil Mickelson, he's not a good golfer because he didn't win. And then he started winning majors, and then everyone had to shut up about Phil. Kyle is really good. He's really good at what he does. Now, if you want to say what he's bad at is evaluating quarterbacks, well, you could say that about maybe one of them, but we still don't know because there's no definitive proof that Trey Lance is or isn't a bust. It just hasn't fit at this particular time. There is no exact science to drafting. There is no general manager who gets every single pick right. And for picks that he's gotten wrong that are high profile, he's come on back and gotten you a starter at quarterback with the last pick in his draft. So if he were that bad at it, how did he just get that lucky? I mean, again, the arguments for and against him don't line up and make sense in the same universe. The Shaw, looking to get creative, says, hey, move Trey to defensive back and have him be third as a quarterback. At least we can get some return on investment. Here's the thing with Trey Lance, he's not as fast as you as hoped. He is not some quick twitch, turn it up field, gone, Jalen Hurts level running quarterback. He's not. He's not. He looked really good running the ball at North Dakota State, which is basically playing against inferior competition where a barrel-chested guy can plow through, Division III, borderline Division II level talent. Postman in Capitola. Oy, oy, oy! Damon, you left Charlie Ward off your list of Heisman Trophy winners. He was smart enough to know that the NBA was the smarter route to athletic success, was the smarter route to financial success, too. That's guaranteed contracts and money. Guaranteed. So, yeah, you ever have a choice between being a football player or an NBA player, you choose the NBA every time. It's the way to go. Steve P. says, scream, Damon. Yeah, I'm not gonna be screaming. Mitchell and Ness says, Damon, the gatekeeper of Niner talk. We must make sure it's okay to speak our mind with Damon first. No, here's the deal. You go ahead and you speak your mind however you want, but if you don't heed any of my advice, eventually you're just going to be just a screamer. And what good are just screamers? Again, if you really want to scream about 49er football, there are a lot of places to do that. If you're interested in talking about 49ers football, this is the place to do that. We're going to be discussing things while other people scream. So, whatever you got to do, whatever makes you feel best, you'd go ahead and do that. True blue forever, Damon. Nothing beats, hey, diddle, diddle, kittle down the middle. Hey, let's get that guy back in the mix. Again, how can you evaluate offenses when he's not even really out there? Michelle Haberman. Quarterback hot takes have basically become people's cocaine to the point where it when it's taken away from them, they have to create a debate where there is none. It's very well said, Michelle. Very well said. Kaiser and Gilroy, what do Bears fans and Edmonton Oilers fans have in common? They're still preoccupied with 1985. Well, look, here's the deal. At least the preoccupation officially hits the X marks the spot of generational, you'll never see it again level excellence. The Edmonton Oilers were phenomenal, and they haven't been great since. The Bears had a phenomenal ancient history. In 1985, they literally redefined the yardstick of NFL excellence to the point where they are discussed at all times. Is there anything from 1985 that still matters in football? The answer is no, except for one team, which if we're playing today, would probably go out and kill some of these football teams. So there is a reason. San Bruno Mike says, look, you know when a guy has it or not. Sometimes you grow into it. I'm guessing an awful lot of people would have looked at the first chapter of Steve Young's career and labeled him and he doesn't have it guy, and then all of a sudden he turned into a Hall of Fame quarterback. So you can get it, but it's hard to show up with it in this league. First impressions are not always the only impressions. Mitchell and Ness again saying old people that get proven wrong get mad. Everyone who is a 49ers screamer is younger than me. All of them. They're all, old people. What are you accusing me of being around this team for the better part of 20 years and therefore I have a bucket full of experience attached to my analysis? I could see how someone who just started to pretend to covering football because they actually have YouTube would be very all up in their emotions, allowing that to govern them. I understand a level of things that if you allow yourself to stick around here, you will find yourself a more reasoned football fan. If all you want to do is being a screaming little whining bitch, there are plenty of branches for you to hang off of. Not this one. What else we got going on here today? Michelle again. We should just be pretty stoked that Kyle's finally willing to say that's my guy this early in the season. What's wrong with people? Well, again, I told you yesterday, stop listening to what he says. Just watch what he does. That gives it all away. That gives it all away. And if he's found the guy, but other people are like, well, it's not the guy I wanted him to find. Again, people think that their opinion is more important than fact. That's what's going on here. The choice I made in my own mind should trump the evaluation of an NFL head coach. Like, if that's what you really believe, like, okay, thank you for letting me know that. Now we can go ahead and talk over here with the rest of the adults without you, who thinks that because you play Madden with Trey Lance that he's the right guy. Let's be honest. You probably went into Trey's profile and you bumped up all of his numbers to really enjoy him in a game of Madden. Again, I love how Lance will expose these people that think, but they don't know. You don't know either. Kyle knows, and he knows that Brock Purdy is a better chance to win today than Trey Lance. There you go. Stop being in your feelings about it. What's going to expose? Here's the thing. The minute Trey Lance becomes better than Brock Purdy, play him. And believe me, Kyle will, but he's not there yet. He's not there yet. How about this? If Trey Lance continues to be a total non-factor, will you ever admit you're wrong? Hey, this entire time, all I did was stump and hump all I could for Trey Lance. Will you ever admit, if he doesn't pan out as an NFL quarterback, that you spent 3 years being as wrong as humanly possible about anything? No! You'll never admit that. You'll just go on to the next topic of outrage du jour, and you'll be yelling about that. That's what you'll do. That's what you'll do. So, you need to seriously calm down. You got to calm down. Just because you're rooting for Trey Lance, that doesn't matter at all. That doesn't matter at all. And you would have to say that based on the fact he's already had surgery on his finger, on his ankle, he's already a level of damaged goods. Every single time he's taken the field, he's proven he's not quite that raw level of athlete that you expected him to be. And when it comes to making the throws that are necessary to run this offense, they're really not happening. Like, if you're willing to admit anything that's going on real here and just get out of your feelings, you should be very concerned about Trey Lance. There's nothing guaranteed about him. As a matter of fact, he is absolutely closer to being a bust than being a starting quarterback. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. There is a level of that guy is uncomfortable that has been attached to him pretty much at all times. So there you go. Again, boy, we did a show about Trey Lance and quarterbacks and things today, and everybody's all upset. Mike Silver's right. You're a group that's easy to trigger. You really are. Not triggered. Not triggered over here. We're looking at actual information as it's happening in real time. We're not trying to evaluate it. We're just trying to explain what happened. What happened is Brock Purdy, the minute he hit a football field, looked better and more comfortable in Kyle's offense than Trey Lance has been able to do in year 3. He's not setting him up to fail. Why would you set up someone that you invested so much draft capital up? Why would you set him up to fail when at the very least you would want to put him in an advantageous situation if you didn't think he was going to be part of your system? You're going to trade him to get a little something back on that. There's no element of wanting him to fail that anyone approaches his day with. And look, Trey Lance seems to be a great guy, a hard worker, says all the right things. His teammates really like him. Sometimes the NFL just says, you're not an NFL player. And they've said that, again, to a list of wildly, wildly talented people over and over again. Heisman Trophy winners get chewed up and spit out all the time. Trey Lance was never good enough to be a Heisman Trophy winner against, inferior competition. He was good. He didn't play enough. Maybe someday it works. Hey, maybe Brock Purdy gets hurt and it is Trey Lance. Maybe Sam Darnold beats out Trey Lance and Lance's third. There's a better chance that Sam Darnold is more prepared to process what is happening in front of him. I mean, look, you go look at a J.T. O'Sullivan video. J.T. O'Sullivan did a video, his quarterback clinic thing, whatever he's doing, that it was just within the first, it's not good. It's not good. But again, J.T. O'Sullivan speaks a level of quarterback play in a language that you and I just do not have access to because we weren't that. He was. He knows what Kyle's looking for. He points out the things that Kyle looks for, Trey Lance doesn't see. And that's just the truth. It's a situation that is developing. No one has reached the final conclusion of anything yet. Calm down. We're arguing over a guy who played 1 year at North Dakota State because of the draft pick, because of the investment. And you would think that, boy, if you're going to put that kind of money down to make a bet like that, you really need that bet to come through. It's a sunk cost. Got to forget about it. Got to move on from it. And maybe it pans out with a player that does prove himself to be worthy of being the 49ers starting quarterback someday. But I'd be really surprised if that were this year. So that's about all the time we got today here, boys and girls. I thank you so very much for being a part of this, for watching. Gee, did I miss any... Did I miss Rob C. throwing another hundo at me at any point in time today? I hope not. I hope I didn't miss any of that. I always appreciate you stopping on by. Hit that like, go ahead, subscribe, and come on back tomorrow as we get you ready for Saturday against the Denver Broncos, and we will be doing some post-game and Damon when that bad boy goes final right over here on YouTube. So I hope to see you tomorrow at 11, and then Saturday post-game, we'll be at it right here on the Plus. Thank you very, very much for tuning in, and please do remember that sports No, I already told you that sports don't build character. They reveal it. That already happened. What I need to let you now know is that you don't have to go home. You can't stay here.